Reggie here, and I want to welcome you to another one of my videos. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, my hope is that over the course of this video, I will give you some justification to do that. But I wanted to take some time to create this video to talk about some things that I've learned about this hobby and some things that I've learned about myself over the last several years that I've been creating content. I came back into this hobby at the end of 2017, the beginning of 2018. And I can tell you that I did not have an impressive comic book collection in any way, shape, or form. But I very quickly decided, I made a mental shift that I was going to have an impressive collection. And I didn't fully articulate what the objective was for a little while after that, but I at least had a notion in my mind that I wanted to put together an awesome collection. And what I realized just today is that in April of 2018, I managed to put together some really amazing books. Like, I literally did not realize that I picked these books up all in the same month, in the same year, until just a short while ago when I was thinking about trying to create this video. And my hope is that I'll be able to show you these books while also articulating some things that I've learned about myself and also some things about the hobby. One thing that I will tell you definitively is that there are lots of different people that make up this hobby, whether you're talking about investors, collectors, speculators, readers, right? But you also have people that think positively and those that don't think positively. And I've met a lot of people that will say to me that they will never have an impressive collection. And the reality is that they are spot on. They will never have an impressive collection, mostly because they've already defeated themselves by having a negative mindset. My belief is that a positive mindset goes a long way towards somebody actually doing really awesome stuff. And I call it a winner's mindset. And I may have borrowed that from somebody, so I can't necessarily take credit for it, but I believe a positive mindset oftentimes will lead to some positive outcomes. And that is how I like to approach things, generally speaking. One of the other things that I focused on the channel and I focused on in my own collecting is creating a goal for myself. I spent a lot of time doing goal setting professionally and also personally as it relates to this hobby. And this is something that has helped me tremendously. And I think that it's also helped a lot of people out there that have watched my videos over the years, followed some of that advice, and they've been able to have some success of their own. So generally speaking, the goals that I like to create are something called SMART goals. And I'm not going to go into all the details of them right now, but essentially a SMART goal is a goal that is very specific, that is measurable, that drives you to take some type of action, and that is measurable and also time bound, right? Specific, measurable, actionable, time bound, right? That is essentially the goal. And again, I've used goal setting in this hobby for several years. And I want to show you just one of the three books that I have here on the table that illustrate how goal setting goes a long way. So this very first book that I'll show you is one that I picked up, I think it was mycomicshop.com. I think that's where I purchased this one. This is Amazing Spider-Man issue number 50. And I picked this book up at actually a 7.5. Picked it up at a 7.5 for about $800. And I was going to the Stan Lee signing, so I wanted a Stan Lee book that was also near and dear to my heart, Amazing Spider-Man issue number 50. So I picked the book up from them. I get the book signed by Stan personally. I'm standing across the table from him. The facilitator offers to get the book signed for me by John Romita, so senior. So I take her up on that offer. The book comes back after a very long wait. I've lost a grade. I've lost half a grade from a 7.5 to a 7.0, but I now have a double signed copy of arguably one of the most iconic Spider-Man covers around, that being ASM 50. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous book. In April April 2nd, specifically of 2018, I bought that book for $800, and right now that book is probably north of $3,000. And I say probably because I don't know that there are a lot of double-signed copies of this book that have sold in the last 30 days for me to get a definitive price. But it's just a great example of me having a goal that allowed me to go out and get this book and then to really be able to make some magic happen. And I have a couple of other books here that I'll show you all as well. But the big thing again is to set a goal, to have a goal, and to start making that goal actionable. One of the ways that we make this all work is that we have to have funds, right? We have to have money to make the magic happen. And sometimes that requires us to save that money up by working. Sometimes it requires us to actually sell comics off. And so regardless of how you decide to approach it, whether it is one or both of those things, you definitely want to have that goal, and you want to start putting the money aside to buy the books that you really want. And I know people out there that have worked overtime. I know people that have taken out second jobs in order to actually get the money. I know other people that have sold off books that they don't necessarily want in order to raise the funds to get the books that they really want. And right now, because of where the market is, this isn't necessarily a bad time to actually pick up books. Just like 2018 was not a bad time to pick up books. And so even if you have to grind now, with where prices are, you might be in a really great place to get some really awesome books that you can squirrel away that will ultimately pay dividends for you in a couple of years when things start to rebound. Because I can tell you for a fact, things will get better. Comics already are starting to rebound ever so slightly. At certain grades, certain books, you start to see things bounce back up, and I think that just bodes well for the future. So the next book that I want to show you is another book that was purchased in April of 2018. This one was purchased on April 12th. April 12th. I went back and looked at the records for these. This at the time was the most expensive comic that I think that I had purchased at this time. And I was probably sweating bullets when I bought this one just because it was a lot of money. This is Hulk 181, and this one is an 8.5. At the time that I picked this up, I had another copy of Hulk 181 in a 5.0 that was signed by Stan Lee. This was the upgrade at an 8.5, and this one I paid $3,650 for this book. Right now this book is worth $82.50. Right? So that is not a bad increase from when I bought it in 18 to where it is now. Also, when you consider the fact that the book was probably worth a lot more than that in 2020, 2021, and then kind of, went down after that. But just a great book that I picked up for a great price that I am very proud to still have in the collection. And like I said, this at the time I bought this was probably pretty painful. It was probably a pretty painful purchase for me because in 2018, I think that we had just had our second kid. So I have two young children under the age of like 4. I mean, that or 5, that is a lot. That is a lot going on. And I might be off with those ages. Please do not tell my wife that. But it was probably a lot for me. We had just not that long ago bought a house, and now we have 2 kids. And so it wasn't like the best time, but I made sacrifices, right? I found a way to make the hobby work for me. And I wasn't necessarily taking money out of family funds, but that still doesn't make it easy to spend that kind of money, especially on a comic. But I'm glad that I did for lots of different reasons, right? But things could be tight for people out there. Do not use your last dollar to buy a comic. That is not the point that I'm trying to make. But sometimes you have to forgo buying certain things because you have other goals out there that you are trying to accomplish. And I think that is one of the great ways that having a goal can help you. Because if you look at your goal and depending upon what it is, let's just say it's to pull together the best Amazing Spider-Man collection you could ever possibly have. If that is your goal, anything that comes along that you're considering buying that isn't an Amazing Spider-Man or a Spider-Man book that helps you with that goal is something that you actually shouldn't buy, right? That's how you use a goal. You use it to evaluate the decisions that you are making. You use it to hold you true to what it is that you said that you were going to do. It is a way of controlling FOMO. And I can tell you for a fact that goal setting has helped me in a lot of ways. It helped me avoid FOMO. It has helped me to avoid nickeling and diming all of my money away, leaving me with less money to be able to buy the actual book that I really wanted. So the last book that I'm going to show you is probably one of the biggest books that is in the collection. It is the one that, again, at the time, became the most expensive book after Incredible Hulk 181. I believe that this one was actually left in the bushes outside of my house, and I was not very pleased with the mail person at the time. But it is a really awesome book that I am proud to have in the collection. This is X-Men issue number 1. And this one was, I filmed a video on this one on April 29th, if memory serves. I don't know exactly when I bought it, but if I filmed the video on the 29th, the book would have had to have been purchased before that, because at the time I was buying, filming, releasing the video. So it was sometime at the end of April in 2018. This book, I paid basically $4,000 for this book, and right now it is worth $1,650. And I can tell you, it wasn't until just recently that I became comfortable with talking about how much money I spent on comics. Back then when I was doing videos originally in 2018, not comfortable at all. So this may be the first time that a lot of people are actually hearing me give the numbers for these books if they remember my kitchen videos. But again, a fantastic return on this book. I mean, at that price, I wish that I could have gone up to a higher grade, but I can tell you again, if you think about what I was spending that month, this was probably a pretty painful amount of money to let go of. And again, that's just one single month in a single year. That 2017, 2018, 2019, I was on a little bit of a tear. To be honest with you, I had created these goals for myself. I was revising the goals. I was upping the goals. I was tweaking the goals, and I was spending a lot of money. I was playing catch up big time, trying to put together what I envisioned to be a solid comic book collection. And at the time, it just felt like all I was doing was bleeding money. But now as I take a step back and I'm able to look at the collection, I am very thankful that I did what I did, because ultimately it benefited me. Ultimately, it benefited me, and I was able to not buy as much in 2020, 2021, 2022, just because a lot of the books that I really wanted, I went after. I went after those books hardcore. So when prices went sky high, I was able to sit it out and just kind of watch and see what was actually happening. And now that values are depressed and prices are depressed, I'm starting to pick books up again. I'm being very strategic in my approach, and right now could be a very good time for somebody out there to put together an amazing collection. There are tons of videos that are here on the channel that can potentially help you to implement what it is that I've spoken about. I will try to put those links in the description. But rest assured, you can always reach out to me to have a conversation, because I am honestly here to help. Not tell you what to do, but I am here to ask you questions, to answer some questions, and to give you a couple of things to think about. As I mentioned at the start of this video, if I've said something that is going to be helpful to you, I want to encourage you to go ahead and hit the thumbs up button. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, I want to invite you to do that. And if you need to reach out to me, feel free to do so on Instagram at Regie Collects. Take care.
This thing on? Mic check. I just want to make sure y'all can hear me clearly. Yo, should you practice art, or should art be your practice? I had a question, so I asked it. Not to anyone specifically, but to my inner God, you know? The one that's gonna be a master, the one that's more than a rapper, the one that's an educator, the one that seeks enlightenment. He travels with concepts, he's got the mindset expansive. He understands that it's time combined with travel and concepts makes his mind convex. Sort of like when you look at a brain scan. Straight off meditation, we was concaving until we had that eternal dialogue that created our dialect. Now we in distinct rooms with pure souls having them conversations. Synergy and combinations. You fly and we waiting. Indian style in the gold.